and happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be going over the May 13th portion of the distance learning packet where we're going to have some reading. You're going to read for 15 minutes using a book of your own or one of the foldables at the end of the packet. You may also use an online resource, which is just as good. Then you're going to be reading a new article fresh from the market on pages 6 through 9. When you're reading this, alternate a paragraph with either a sibling or a parent where you will read a paragraph and then you'll have them read a paragraph. And once you're done reading, ask yourself the author's purpose. Why did the author write this article? Also, what does the author want the readers to know? Okay, and then we're going to be moving on to some writing where you're going to answer a writing prompt. So after discussing why the author wrote this article, write about why the author wrote fresh from the market. We're going to have a little bit of grammar and spelling where we're going to go over possessives. And then finally, we're going to have some math where we're going to have a math task and then a little bit of procedural practice continuing on with that 3-digit addition with regrouping. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the article you're going to read with your parents or an older sibling where you're going to read a paragraph and then alternate reading a paragraph with them. And you're going to read both of those pages. And once you're done reading, go ahead and have that discussion with your parents or a sibling about why you think the author wrote the article. Okay? What was the purpose? What did the author want you to know? So you're going to answer the writing prompt. After discussing why the author wrote this article, write about why the author wrote fresh from the market. I kind of gave you a little sentence starter here. I think the author wrote the article fresh from the market, and that's where you're going to fill in your opinion. You may use evidence from the text, but remember when you're using that evidence from the text to go ahead and put that in those quotation marks, and you're going to begin your sentence with a capital letter and end that with a punctuation. And then we're going to move on to our grammar, which is possessives. A possessive shows to what or to whom something belongs. Add an apostrophe and an S to a singular noun to form a singular possessive. Add an apostrophe to a plural noun that ends in S to form a plural possessive. So we're going over singular and plural, where singular is one. So for instance, Ella's quilt is handmade. So you see Ella apostrophe S because it's Ella's quilt. Another example is the farm's strawberries are ripe. Well, the strawberries belong to one farm, so it would be farm apostrophe S. That is a singular possessive. When we're getting into plural possessives, plural means more than one. So here you're going to see the baby's blankets are new. Because it's more than one baby, it's going to be S and then an apostrophe. The same, the picker's baskets are full. Because it's more than one picker, you're going to have that S and then that apostrophe. So we're going to have a little bit of practice here rewriting each sentence, replacing the underlined words with a possessive phrase. So we are going to need to change the words up a little bit and decide if they are a singular possessive or a plural possessive. So let's go ahead and start with number 1. The gates of the zoo are open. Because there's an S, it's telling us there is more than one gate, so that is going to be a plural possessive. So if we were going to rewrite this sentence, we would need to put the gates of the zoo are open. So it would look something like that. Okay, and then we're going to move on to number 2. I want to see the habits of the penguins. Again, there's an S at the end of that, so that tells us it is more than one penguin. So we are going to follow the rules of the plural possessive. And to rewrite this, we're going to say, I want to see the penguins apostrophe S habitats. Okay, we'll make this a little bit longer so it all fits. There we go. And we are going to move on to number 3. The paw of the polar bear is huge. Here you see bear does not have an S. That tells us it is a singular possessive. So that is going to be an apostrophe S, not S apostrophe. And we're going to fill this in here. The polar bear's paw is huge. Rewriting that using that singular possessive. I gave you 3 examples. I am going to want you to try 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Just remember the rules. Singular possessive is apostrophe S, and then plural possessive, which means more than one, is going to be S apostrophe. Okay, now we are going to move on to our math. Here we have a math task. 149 children are on the playground. 131 more children come to the playground. How many children are on the playground now? Well, because we have more, that word more, 131 more children come to the playground, that lets us know that we're going to be adding them together. We're going to be looking for the sum. None of the children left the playground. More children came to the playground. So we're going to be adding. So we're going to look for the sum. If we remember those 3 steps for 3-digit subtraction, when we start adding, we're going to always start with the ones column. And we're going to add that up. And remember, 10 or more, we're going to need to regroup and move it next door. Starting with the ones, 9 plus 1 is 10. That is 10 or more. So sorry about that. We're going to need to put our 0 down here, and we are going to need regroup those ones. Those are going to have to go up there. Moving on to step 2, where we are going to start with our tens column. We have 1 plus 4. We know that 1 and 4 more is 5. And if we have 5 and 3 more, that is 8. That is less than 10, so we don't need to regroup. We're just going to put our 8 down below there. And then our third step is adding up the hundreds column, where we have 1 plus 1. If we have 1 and 1 more, that is 2. So we know that there are 280 children total on the playground. Also, if you need to draw a picture or use base 10 blocks, feel free to do that as well. Now we are going to move on to some procedural practice where we're going to find the sum. They gave us an example where we're going to find the sum of 375 plus 462. As you can see here, they use base 10 blocks to represent that problem. You are more than welcome to do that. They have also lined it up based on the place value using an HTO chart and giving us the steps to follow. So let's go ahead and follow through this example. So for step 1, we need to add the ones. We have 5 plus 2. And 5 plus 2 is 7. That is less than 10, so there's no regrouping that needs to go on, so we can go ahead and move on to step 2. Step 2, add the tens. If there are 10 or more tens, regroup 10 tens as 100. Write 1 in the hundreds column. Okay, so this is where the regrouping is going to be very similar to how we regrouped the ones, where we had if we had 10 ones, we could regroup them for trade those in for a 10. Now you're basically going to be doing the same thing with the tens. If you have 10 tens, that is the same thing as saying that you have 100. So you can trade in those 10 tens for an additional 100. And that's going to represent the regrouping. So here you had 7 plus 6. 7 plus 6 is 13. So here we had 3 ones. We traded in those 10 tens for another 100. So we had to regroup, and we added that 1 over to the hundreds column. Now we can move on to step 3, where we're going to add the hundreds. So we had 1 plus 3 is 4. And then 4 and 4 more is 8. So that told us that the sum of 375 and 462 is 837, following those rules. Those rules of 3-digit subtraction, or 3-digit addition with regrouping. Okay, so we have a couple to practice today. Use base 10 blocks if needed. Again, that is always an option. You can draw them out here and then cross them out to show the regrouping. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started. Remember, there are the 3 steps. The first step, we're always starting with the ones column. So here we have 3 plus 5, so 3 and 5 more is 8. That is less than 10, so we know we do not need to regroup, and we can go ahead and move on to step 2. Step 2, we're going to focus on the tens column, where we have 4 plus 8. 4 and 8 more is 12. 12 is greater than 10, and remember, 10 or more, move next door. So what we're going to do, we're going to take those 2 ones And then what we're basically going to be doing is taking those 10 tens and trading that in for 100 if you're using the base 10 blocks. And that's how we're going to show regrouping. So we've gotten through step 1, we've gotten through step 2. The last step is step 3, where we're going to focus on that hundreds column in our problem. And we have 1 plus 2. We know 1 and 2 more is 3. And 3 plus 3, so 3 and 3 more is 6. So we know the sum of 243 plus 385 is 628. So let's go ahead. We have one more example. We are basically going to be doing the exact same thing where we're following those 3 steps. Step 1, always starting with that ones column. And we're going to be adding 562 plus 174. So let's go ahead and try this out. We have 2 plus 4, 2 and 4 more is 6. That is less than 10, so we know we do not need to regroup that particular place value. So we're going to move on to step 2, which is the tens section, or I'm sorry, the tens column, where we have 6 plus 7. 6 plus 7 is 13. That is 10 or more, so we're going to need to regroup, where we're going to carry our ones down here, and then we are going to regroup our tens, which is basically 10 tens is equivalent to 100, so we're going to regroup there. And now step 3, we're finally able to add our hundreds column, where we have 1 plus 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. And 6 and 1 more is 7. So we know the sum of 562 plus 174 is 736. We do need to answer one question. Down here it is asking us, how is regrouping ones different from regrouping tens? Well, the answer to that is when you're regrouping ones, you are basically trading in the ones for tens. So now if you're regrouping tens, you're going to be trading in tens for hundreds. So the difference is when you are regrouping ones, you are trading in the ones for tens. When you are regrouping tens, you are trading in the tens for hundreds. So that is the difference. It's just regrouping is still the same. Whenever you get 10 or more, you're going to regroup. But when you are regrouping the ones column, you're trading in those ones for tens. And then when you're regrouping the tens column, you are actually trading in those 10 tens for 100s, or for 100. That is all for today. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me using class tag or leaving me a comment in a comment in the section below, and I will get back to you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will talk very soon. Goodbye.